The air in the kitchen smelled like burned toast and instant coffee. Morning light came through the window above the sink, cutting across the countertop in a hard line. I was standing at the stove, flipping pancakes for my son's breakfast before school. The radio played something low and forgettable. My wife walked in, her heels already on, purse over her shoulder. She didn't look at me, she looked at her phone. "You're making him late again," she said. I glanced at the clock. 7:42. School started at 8:15. We had time. "He's fine," I said. "He's getting dressed." She set her coffee cup down harder than she needed to. "You know what you are, David? You're a failure as a father." I didn't drop the spatula. I didn't turn around. My hand stayed steady on the pan. My chest didn't tighten. It hollowed out. "A failure," she repeated, like she wanted to be sure I heard it. Then she left. The door closed. The engine started. The driveway went quiet. I set the pancakes on a plate and called my son downstairs. He came down smiling, backpack half-zipped, one shoe untied. He didn't know what his mother had just said. He didn't need to. I tied his shoe. I packed his lunch. I drove him to school on time. She had no idea what she'd set in motion. My name is David Brennan. I'm 51 years old. I work in quality assurance for a mid-sized manufacturing firm. I spend my days reviewing compliance checklists and making sure shipments clear inspection. It's not glamorous. It's precise. It's the kind of work that rewards patience and attention to things other people overlook. I'd been married to Claire for 19 years. On the surface, we were stable. Two-story house in a suburb with good schools. A son, Nathan, who was 12. A mortgage we could manage. Date nights once a month at the Italian place near the highway. Birthday cards. Anniversary dinners. The machinery of a functional marriage. But somewhere along the way, the machinery had started running without me in it. I noticed it in small moments. Claire would ask what I thought about something, then dismiss my answer before I finished the sentence. "That's not practical, David." Or she'd make a decision about Nathan's schedule without consulting me, then act surprised when I didn't know about the new soccer practice time. "I told you," she'd say, even though she hadn't. Money was another pattern. She handled the main account. I contributed my paycheck like clockwork. But when I asked about our savings or how much we were spending on home renovations, she'd wave it off. "I've got it covered. Don't worry about it." I let it go. I let a lot go. At parent-teacher conferences, she did the talking. At family gatherings, she answered questions about Nathan's progress, his interests, his grades. I sat beside her, nodding. Present but invisible. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself she was just more outgoing, more organized. I told myself I was doing my part by showing up. I should have seen it sooner. The morning she called me a failure wasn't the first time. It was just the loudest. 3 weeks earlier, she'd muttered it under her breath when I forgot to sign a permission slip. 2 months before that, she'd said it in front of her sister during Thanksgiving dinner, disguised as a joke. "David's great at work, but at home? Total failure as a dad." Everyone laughed. I smiled. I didn't correct her. That morning in the kitchen, something shifted. The school had a parent engagement evening scheduled for the following Thursday. I marked it on my calendar the day the flyer came home. Claire saw it on the counter, crumpled it up, and tossed it in the recycling. "I'll handle it," she said. "You just sit there like a statue anyway." I didn't argue. I pulled the flyer back out of the bin after she left for work. I smoothed it flat. I put it in my planner. Thursday came. Claire texted me at 4:30. "Running late. You'll have to skip the school thing. I'll go after my meeting." I looked at the message for a long time. Then I turned off my phone. I left work at 5. I drove to Nathan's school and parked in the lot. I walked into the gymnasium where parents were gathering around tables, displaying student projects. I signed in at the volunteer desk. I found Nathan's table in the science section. He was standing beside a cardboard model of the solar system. His face lit up when he saw me. "Dad, you came!" "Of course I came," I said. "Mom said you probably wouldn't." I felt something tighten in my throat, but I kept my voice level. "I'm here." We walked through his project together. He explained how he'd used different size balls to show planetary scale. He pointed out the rings he'd made for Saturn using wire and paper. He talked about gravitational pull and orbital periods. He used words I didn't know he knew. "This is incredible," I said. "I worked on it for 3 weeks," he told me. "I wanted to show you, but Mom said you were too busy." I didn't correct him. I didn't tell him I'd never been asked. Claire arrived 20 minutes later. She walked in scanning the room, then froze when she saw me standing with Nathan. Her expression flickered between surprise and irritation. She crossed the gym toward us, heels clicking on the polished floor. "David, what are you doing here?" "Same thing you are," I said. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. She turned to Nathan. "Sweetheart, why don't you show me your project?" Nathan looked between us. "I already showed Dad." "Show me again." I stepped back. I let her have the moment, but I didn't leave. The principal took the microphone at 7 o'clock. She welcomed everyone and introduced the evening's program. Then she said something that made the room go still. "Before we break into classroom visits, I want to recognize a few parents who've gone above and beyond this semester. These are volunteers who've shown up consistently, quietly, and made a real difference in our students' lives." She started reading names. Parents walked to the front to receive certificates. Polite applause followed each one. Then she said, "David Brennan." I felt my son tug my sleeve. "Dad, that's you." I hadn't moved yet. The principal continued. "David has been volunteering in our morning reading program for the past 4 months. He comes in twice a week before work to help struggling readers practice phonics and comprehension. His consistency and patience have made a measurable impact. Several students have improved 2 grade levels in reading since September, and their teachers credit David's steady presence. Nathan, you should be very proud of your father." The applause started. I walked to the front. The principal handed me a framed certificate. I shook her hand. I looked out at the audience. Claire was standing near the back. Her face was white. Her mouth was open. She was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Nathan was grinning so wide I thought his face might split. I walked back to my seat. I set the certificate on the table. I didn't look at Claire. After the ceremony, parents filtered into classrooms. Nathan grabbed my hand and pulled me toward his homeroom. Claire followed a few steps behind, silent. Nathan's teacher, Mrs. Alvarez, greeted us at the door. "Mr. Brennan," she smiled. "I'm so glad you're here. Nathan talks about you constantly." Claire's voice cut in. "I'm his mother, Claire Brennan." Mrs. Alvarez nodded politely. "Of course, Nathan mentions you too." She turned back to me. "He tells us every week about the weekend projects you two work on. The birdhouse you built together?" He brought in photos. The kids loved it. I saw Claire's jaw tighten. "And the rocket launch in the park last month," Mrs. Alvarez continued. "Nathan wrote his best essay of the year about that experience. He said you explained thrust and trajectory while you set it up. It was so detailed and enthusiastic. We used it as an example for the class." Claire's hand gripped her purse strap. "I didn't know about any rocket launch." Mrs. Alvarez looked confused. "Oh, well, Nathan's very proud of the time he spends with his dad. He says Mr. Brennan always makes time, even when he's tired from work." The conversation moved on. Other parents arrived. We stepped aside. Claire pulled me into the hallway. Her voice was low and sharp. "You've been volunteering at the school?" "Twice a week since September," I said. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You never asked what I did with my mornings." Her face flushed. "And the projects, the rocket, the birdhouse?" "Nathan wanted to build things, so we built them." "When?" "Weekends, while you were at brunch with your book club, or getting your nails done, or running errands you said you'd handle alone." She stared at me. "You made me look like an idiot in there." "I didn't make you anything," I said. "I just showed up." Her eyes were wet now, but I couldn't tell if it was anger or something else. "You don't understand how hard I work to keep this family together." "I understand exactly how hard you work," I said. "I've been working right beside you. You just stopped noticing." She didn't have an answer for that. We drove home in separate cars. Nathan rode with me. He talked the whole way, replaying the evening, asking if I'd seen how many people clapped, asking if we could frame the certificate for his room. I told him yes. I told him I was proud of him. I told him I'd always make time. When we got home, Claire was already inside. She was sitting at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd called me a failure 3 weeks earlier. She had her hands folded in front of her, and she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her look. "David," she said when I walked in, "can we talk?" I poured myself a glass of water. I leaned against the counter. "Go ahead." "I didn't know," she started. "I didn't know you were doing all that." "You didn't ask." "I thought—" She stopped, started again. "I thought you didn't care. You were always so quiet. You never fought me on anything. You just nodded and went along. I thought you'd checked out." "I didn't check out," I said. "I stepped back. There's a difference." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you'd already decided what kind of father I was. You told me, multiple times. I figured there was no point in arguing. I'd rather just be the father Nathan needed and let you think whatever you wanted." She flinched. "That's not fair." "You called me a failure," I said. My voice was calm, measured. "You said it in front of your family. You said it in front of our son. You said it to my face. So I stopped trying to convince you otherwise. I let my actions speak." She was crying now. Real tears. Not the kind she used to get her way. The kind that come when someone realizes they've broken something they can't fix. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know you are. Can we fix this?" I set the glass down. I looked at her for a long time. "I don't know, Claire. I've been trying to fix it for years. You've been too busy to notice." She covered her face with her hands. I walked upstairs. I checked on Nathan. He was already asleep, the certificate propped on his nightstand. I stood in the doorway for a minute, watching him breathe. Then I went to the guest room. I'd been sleeping there for 2 weeks, since the morning she called me a failure. She hadn't noticed that either. Over the next month, things shifted. Claire started asking questions, real questions. Where was I going? What was I working on with Nathan? Could she come along? I let her, slowly. I didn't freeze her out, but I didn't pretend everything was fine either. She started coming to my Tuesday and Thursday morning reading sessions. She sat in the back and watched. She saw me work with a 7-year-old named Marcus who struggled with consonant blends. She saw me patiently sound out words with him, over and over, until he got it. She saw his face when he read a full sentence on his own for the first time. After the session, she waited for me in the parking lot. "You're good at this," she said. "I've had practice." "With Nathan?" "With anyone who needs someone to listen." She looked down. "I haven't been listening, have I?" "Not for a long time." "I want to change that." "Then change it," I said. "But don't do it for me. Do it because it's the right thing to do." We started going to counseling, not because I asked, because she did. The therapist was a woman named Dr. Feldman, who had a calm, direct way of cutting through excuses. She made us each write down what we thought our marriage was. Then she made us read them out loud. Claire's list was full of appearances, date nights, vacations, holiday cards, the house, the cars, the reputation. Mine was simpler: presence, partnership, respect. Dr. Feldman asked Claire why she thought David had checked out. Claire said because I never fought back. I never argued. I just went quiet. Dr. Feldman turned to me. "Is that true?" "I didn't see the point in fighting," I said. She'd already made up her mind about who I was. I decided I'd rather be who Nathan needed me to be. "And did you tell Claire that?" "I tried. She didn't hear me." Dr. Feldman looked at Claire. "Why didn't you hear him?" Claire's voice broke. "Because I was so focused on controlling everything that I stopped paying attention to what actually mattered." That was the first real thing she'd said in years. We didn't fix everything overnight. Some things don't get fixed. They get rebuilt. Slowly, with intention. Claire started showing up differently. She asked before deciding. She listened before dismissing. She made space for me in conversations about Nathan, about money, about the future. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I didn't move back into our bedroom right away. I waited until it felt right, until the apology wasn't just words, but a pattern of behavior that proved she meant it. 3 months after the school ceremony, Nathan won a regional science fair with a project about renewable energy. Claire and I both went. We sat together. We cheered together. When Nathan accepted his award, he thanked both of us by name. Afterward, Claire took my hand. "I almost lost this," she said. "You almost did. Thank you for not letting me." I didn't respond right away. I just held her hand and watched our son celebrate. That night, I changed the locks on the shed where Nathan and I kept our tools and project supplies. Not to keep Claire out, but because the old lock was broken and I'd been meaning to fix it for months. Small repairs matter. They add up. I sat on the back porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sun sink below the fence line. The air was cool. The sky was clear. Somewhere in the house, Nathan was practicing his award speech for the school assembly. Claire was helping him. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. Silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's the space you need to figure out what you're actually building and whether the person beside you is building it too. I'd spent years being quiet, but quiet doesn't mean absent. It doesn't mean invisible. It means listening, watching, choosing when to speak and what to fight for. I chose my son. I chose showing up. I chose being the father he needed, even when no one was watching, even when someone was telling me I wasn't enough. Turns out, I was enough all along. I just needed the right audience. If you'd been in my position, would you have stayed silent and let your actions speak? Or would you have confronted the accusations head on? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Whether you're in your car, at your desk, or walking through your day, your presence here means more than you know. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe. Let's keep walking this road together.